No, actually, I've got a lot of people in the MAGA base who realize that we could have done this differently. We could extend the tax cuts and paid for them, but instead we're not. I mean, over here, the people in favor of this bill say that under the policies of this bill, we're going to add $20 trillion to debt over the next 10 years, which is $3.5 to $5 trillion more than would have been added otherwise.
This is deficit neutral.
Yeah, that's a joke. It's a joke.
Looks like Donald Trump has run out of issues to baselessly blame Joe Biden for, because that's usually MAGA Republican Thomas Massie there, calling the GOP tax plan's claim that it's deficit neutral a joke. So you obviously know what's coming.
Massie said that adds more deficit than Biden did, and this bill kind of...
Because we have to fix the country.
Do you think that Thomas Massie is correct in saying that this is adding Biden?
No, I don't think Thomas Massie understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly. He'll probably vote. We don't even talk to him much. I think he should be voted out of office. And I just don't think he understands government. If you ask him a couple of questions, he never gives you an answer. He just says, I'm a no. He thinks he's going to get publicity. And you have that. You have that.
The typical threat forced Massie to jump on social media to ask for a lifeline. I need your help, for having the audacity to say this bill does not repeal the Green New Deal, but does increase the deficit and debt substantially. I was threatened by Trump today. Can you contribute to my re-election? The petulant president is going to have to fire up several more calls for primaries because the mutiny spreads further than Thomas Massie.
This is to sources at Fox News that the president reportedly said to you with regard to this, I know your district better than you do. If you lose because of SALT, you were going to lose anyway. What do you say to those 2 points?
Well, respectfully to the president, I've won 3 times in 2-to-1 Democratic districts because I know what the issues are impacting my district.
Did he say that to you, Congressman? Is that an accurate quote?
It is, and here's the truth. I'm one of only 3 Republicans that have won in a district that Kamala Harris won. So the fact is, I know my district very well, and there's a reason why I've been successful. But I'm not going to sacrifice my constituents and throw them under the bus in a bad faith negotiation, which is what this has been by leadership and Jason Smith. We need to come to an agreement. We need to provide real and lasting tax relief. And that's what I'm fighting for my constituents. So I respect the president, respect the Wall Street Journal, but I'll respectfully disagree. And the fact is that in a district like mine, it is not the wealthy that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the cop and the teacher who are struggling under the crushing weight of the highest tax burden in America. I'm not going to sell out my constituents at the expense of getting a fair tax deal.
And Mike Lawler, another usually Trump loyalist, knows that if he goes along with everything the White House is demanding they do to their constituents, that he'll pay the price while Trump just moves along. He had the opportunity to call for Lawler to be primary too, but instead he went with a different but still standard response to oppositional voices. He blamed Democrats.
President, what's your message to your fellow New Yorker Republicans who are hung up on the SALT issue?
Well, SALT is a very interesting thing because the governors of New York and Illinois, you know, the big JB who's going nowhere. Probably right now he could be the worst governor in the country. But Illinois and Gavin Newsom, those are the people that want this. And they're Democrat states. They're all Democrat states. But the biggest beneficiary, if we do that, are governors from New York, Illinois, and California. And those governors are the ones that blew it because they weren't able to get it. So I think we're going to be explaining that these are all very blue states.
When all else fails, collect your MAGA-minded supporters and separate them from policies that actually help them by claiming it'll help blue states. This guy is the most transparently divisive president in recent history, and he's not even good at it. You know, I'm pretty sure Mike Lawler isn't a blue state dim, but when blind hate for anything they claim is Democratic is activated, Trump expects ignorant rage from his base. But the GOP pushback keeps growing. This message was signed not only by Lawler, but by Republican Congressmen Garabino, LaLota, Keene, and Kim. A fair SALT deduction is a matter of fundamental fairness for the hardworking families we represent, including the many who proudly support Trump and voted for him, in part because he promised to restore SALT. We hope his remarks today motivate the speaker to advance SALT proposal that delivers meaningful relief for our middle-class constituents, as we have worked in good faith with House leadership for more than a year. And here's the best part, you guys. Our states are donor states, consistently subsidizing so-called fiscally responsible red states. Damn, these guys sound like a bunch of filthy libs, citing facts about how much blue states that get called ungodly bastions of overspending actually bail out the red states that focus on pushing empty culture war issues rather than economic ones facing their states. This shouldn't even be the main issue that House Republicans have to defend themselves against, though, because despite Trump's absolutely made-up claim that this tax bill somehow cuts taxes for regular Americans,
you'll have a 68% tax increase, or you'll get a massive tax decrease. You'll get a tax cut, the likes of which we've never had before. This is bigger than any Ronald Reagan tax cut. It's even bigger than the tax cut that I gave, because as you know, that's being extended and increased. So this is the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, or you'll get a 68% tax increase.
The reality is that it does everything for the rich people that he's surrounded by, while further devastating the people that he couldn't care less about.
I'm looking at this chart here about who benefits from this bill. It doesn't seem to match what Chairwoman Fox and Mr. Arrington are just talking about right now. You want to comment on this?
What that chart shows, and by the way, that's not my chart.
Yeah, I know.
That's not your chart.
CBO's.
That is the official scorekeeper's chart, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. And if you can show that chart again, what it shows is the poor get poorer while the rich get richer. And so let me quote again from the CBO, specifically their numbers. For people in the bottom 10%, they will experience a 4% loss of household wealth. Meanwhile, for people in the top 10%, they will see their household resources increase by 2%. It is as simple as that.
So the question is if we'll continue to watch the richest in the country pick our pockets while we fight over the 2 trans girls playing basketball and running track in the country. And one of the vehicles for them to get there is based on another ongoing lie about Medicare.
Trump was pretty blunt inside the room when it came to the issue of Medicaid, Wolf. In fact, we are told from multiple sources, 2 sources inside the room, that Trump said, quote, "Don't F around with Medicaid," and he used the curse word.
We're not doing any cutting of anything meaningful. The only thing we're cutting is waste, fraud, and abuse. With Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. We're cutting 3 things: waste, fraud, and abuse. We're not changing Medicaid, and we're not changing Medicare, and we're not changing Social Security.
As usual, you can believe Donald Trump or you can believe the facts.
As we've been looking at this bill over the last few months, as it has been clear that it was going to require drastic Medicaid cuts, we do have this breaking news this evening that it's also going to impact Medicare. What's going to happen if the bill passes?
Yes, as CBO showed, because of the deficits that are baked into the Republican bill for billionaires, that would, because of something called the Pay-As-You-Go Act, or PAYGO, that would trigger sequestration of Medicare. And it would, again, according to the Congressional Budget Office, be to the tune of over $500 billion to Medicare, one of the biggest cuts to the program. Indeed, I would say the largest outright cut to the program in American history. This is really the breaking news, because when the Budget Committee kicked off this process approximately 3 months ago, there was a commitment by President Trump that there would be no Medicare cuts in this piece of legislation. And indeed, over the last several months, there's been no discussion of Medicare at all. There has been of Medicaid, but not of Medicare. Well, here we are tonight because, as you explained, because of the size of the deficits, because of the PAYGO or Pay-As-You-Go Act, that would trigger sequestration of Medicare, and it would total over $500 billion. The official figure that CBO confirms is $535 billion in cuts to Medicare.